up, guys? Welcome to PayTrace Power30. My name is Sam Johnson. I'll be your host today. With us is our guest, Mr. Michael Cannon. What's going on, Michael?
Hey, Sam. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, happy to have you here. I know there's a lot of you guys that are new to Power30, so just to let you know what's going on here. PayTrace Power30 is a quick 30-minute webinar where we're going to look into some of the background of PayTrace and introduce you to some of the PayTracers that make everything happen and keep the lights on here. So today's guest is going to be Mr. Michael Cannon. I'll talk a little bit about you. So, Michael, you've been in the industry for about 20 years or so.
Correct. Yeah, this is going to be my 20th year.
Okay, so 1999.
In general.
In general. You've been a small business owner.
Yep.
You are a real estate mogul, I'd say.
Mogul is a strong word, but I will accept that title if you're going to throw that out.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to give the audience a little bit of background into who Michael Cannon is outside of the payments professional. So you are a little bit of a kind of a pit master, barbecue pit master.
Well, I mean, I would never get myself that title.
At least that's what the word is around the office.
Yeah. I enjoy barbecue.
So just, what was it, last Tuesday, about a week ago,
yep.
You actually trucked in a couple barbecues to the office, and we did a little bit of a cookout for our technology team who's in the office.
We did. They were having a group kind of meeting, get together, and we decided as a sales department we wanted to thank them for all the work that they do, and so we thought that maybe serving them lunch would be a good way to do that. So yeah, we brought in some barbecues and cooked up some burgers and brats and chicken, and it was a good time.
So in essence, we were kind of just buying some goodwill from them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. you gotta put some deposits in
That's awesome.
in the goodness of now.
Do we have, James, do you have some pictures from the barbecue heat up just to show what kind of things we do? There he is. There's Michael. Nice. What else do we got? Okay. Oh, I got the tiny grill. Yeah. Flipping some burgers. Got some good ones on there. Our national sales manager, Eric Jenks, was out there smoking a pipe, it looks like, having a good time.
It was pouring that day, so you can see we had a little canopy set up and little station out there to protect us from the elements.
Which is funny because right now I'm looking at you, and I don't know if our audience can pick it up, but you are a little bit red and peely. Yeah. What's going on?
I'm molting presently on the stage. It's not. I was chaperoning a high school trip for my son over the weekend down in Southern California. He plays in the band in his high school, and they got to play in the USS Midway in San Diego, and so I was out in the sun a lot. And I think that was
the Midway, huh?
Yes, yes.
It's not Power30 if I don't have stupid props.
Well, I like it.
So here, I'm gonna take that off. That's stupid. All right. That's great. Well, I think we stalled enough. Let's get into some of the actual kind of payments content, right?
Sounds great.
I will say we take about maybe 15 to 20 minutes, guys, actually talking about PayTrace payment stuff. We want to keep this fairly interactive, right? We want you to be able to interact with myself and Michael. So as you have questions, if you wiggle your mouse around on the screen, you'll see a Q&A box pop up. You can send in your questions. We'll answer those probably towards the end of the presentation. Our marketing team will help field those as we go along, so feel free to communicate with us.
Sounds great. Yeah.
So we keyed this up. The title of today's presentation, Power30, is Canon in D. Right? Play on your name, but also it's an orchestra type thing. I'm not a music history major, and our marketing team wrote this, but this is pretty cool. So Pachelbel's Canon in D is one of our greatest music pieces, right? Again, not a history major, but as you're looking at your portfolio, right, your merchant portfolio, you can introduce the same kind of methodology as a big elaborate orchestra like that, right? You're bringing in one instrumental section, then you got the harmony, and you got all this stuff going along, kind of like a merchant portfolio. So that's what we're going to focus on today, taking all the baroqueness out of that. We're going to get into portfolio management. So I want to ask you, Michael, what does portfolio management mean?
So portfolio management is something I think that gets overlooked at times. Sometimes we focus on just sales. We like to be salespeople. We like to go out and win the deal and solution, clients and we love making money. But there's kind of an art and a strategy to managing your existing portfolio. And so we'll talk about that a little bit today. But I'll just introduce the idea that I would say it's as important to manage and grow organically the portfolio that you have, in addition to going out and getting new sales. Like I mentioned, we love to sell and get new sales, but if your retention rates are such that you're losing as much business every month as you gain, you're just spinning your wheels. You're not really gaining progress in your portfolio or margin. So that portfolio management, how you manage existing clients, is vital.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And that ties in a lot with what we talked about in our last section. I know you saw that with Patrick Seymour, our marketing director. Right? There's a lot of good stuff with PayTrace and retention, and that's just going to make portfolio management a lot easier, right?
Yeah, I won't restate a lot of things that he took a pretty detailed look at in his segment, but just to touch on it briefly, our rates are low single digits in the industry for PayTrace clients compared to, I think the average in the merchant world is somewhere in the low 20s. So if by correctly solutioning a merchant, pricing them well, these are tools that can help you retain clients better, and we have a great track record for retaining merchants.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe in your experience, right, I keyed it up, you've been in the industry for a while, you used to sell, now you're more on the PayTrace side, helping other people become successful. What are maybe some of the best practices that you see yourself with regards to, once you get that merchant on board, what do you do to make them happy and keep them happy?
Well, customer service can't be overstated. I think the importance of just maintaining a relationship. This is a relationship business, right? People are going to come in the door of your clients on a pretty regular basis, offering them lower rates, better this, better that. It's always a sales pitch. And so the stronger your relationship, your personal relationship with those clients are, they're less likely to just accept one of those offers. And they're more likely to give you a call and say, hey, you know what? I got this offer for this and this and this, and let me just run that by you. What do you think about that? Can you do that, or why does that not work? And so it's that strength of that relationship that keeps them part of your portfolio. So that's one thing, is just great customer service, great relationship management, but it starts with how you board them and picking the right solution and meeting their needs up front instead of just selling them to close a deal. I mean, the longevity of the deal, there's a direct correlation, I think, between the longevity of keeping a client in your portfolio with the teachiness of the reason that they signed with you in the first place. So if it's just a quick talk them into something, it might not last very long, but if you take the time to understand their needs and solution them appropriately with a product like PayTrace or something else even that meets their needs, they're more likely to stay with you longer.
Right. And it's not always PayTrace is the right solution, right?
Right.
A lot of times we are. We've got a great product, it's very comprehensive, but for a restaurant, for a retail location, it might not be the best thing to put them on PayTrace. We're going to look at the right solution.
Right. We definitely have our strengths and the parts of the market that we fit the best in. And you might have heard us say this before. We don't try to be all things to all people, but we just want to be a solution so that it's when it's appropriate to solution us with a client, that we're your go-to gateway, especially in the B2B space.
Sure. And kind of on the flip to that last statement, right? We actually are a great solution for a lot of businesses, and we're finding more and more merchants are starting to convert over to PayTrace from their existing setup, whatever they're doing, because it's fitting some of those needs that maybe they weren't getting previously. Or maybe as their business is organically growing, right, they need something to fit some other sort of gap.
Right, that's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned conversions. A lot of times when we sign new partners or we enter into relationships with a reseller, the focus tends to be on selling going forward. How do we sell this into the market? But a really critical initial step would be, how do we fit PayTrace into our current portfolio? we don't want to necessarily displace people just for sake of displacement, but if we're a new solution that's offering functionality or you've heard the term interchange optimization, if we can offer lower interchange rates or the ability to qualify for lower rates, that's something worth looking into your existing portfolio for instead of just on a go-forward sales basis. So one thing that is very strategic that I recommend new resellers do when they sign up with us is do some quick analysis of your portfolio. Things that you might look for are interchange categories in the business-to-business categories, like you're looking for, of course, IRF and standard, but if you see purchase card, commercial card, business card, those kinds of transactions, that's a dead giveaway that if they were to use the PayTrace gateway, we could help them qualify at level 2 and level 3 rates and save on interchange. So take that idea, put it aside for just a second. Let's talk about the life cycle of a merchant. When you sign a merchant, as you all know, it's kind of a downward slope from the time that you sign them to the end of that relationship, if there is one. They're always going to want lower pricing, better functionality, more tools. And so you rarely get to raise a rate after you've already signed a merchant. It's the other way. And so having a tool like PayTrace that you can introduce into your existing portfolio helps out with an offering that maybe you didn't have before in that existing portfolio. So if they're partway or midway through that kind of downward slope of the merchant relationship, say they're halfway through that life cycle and they're looking for better rates or they're looking for new functionality or something, you can bring them PayTrace and say, hey, this is a new gateway that we just started working with. There's some ways that they can meet your needs that maybe you haven't had before. Oh, and by the way, through using this gateway, you can qualify at lower interchange rates. That solves your issue of having to lower their rates without cutting into your own margin. So instead of having to lower your discount rate, your pricing, you're saving them on interchange probably far more than if you were to cut your own rate. So by introducing us into your existing portfolio, maybe converting some current clients, you can gain a lot of lift in your margin or that immediate bang for the buck without having to sell a single new account.
And to kind of add on to that, Michael, right? This is an interesting time of the year, April, right? You got tax day just passed, which headache for a lot of folks. But along with that, right? April and October, typically the card brands will come out with new interchange rates. Processors might do some rate increases. So a lot of merchants around this time of year are probably getting letters in the mail saying, "Hey, right, your rates are going up." And that's a good point. Yeah. It's not a fun conversation to typically have with them. Introduce PayTrace, right? You can actually flip that on its head.
Right. The timing could be very lucky in the sense that what could have been a negative experience for a client who might otherwise experience an increase in their costs, you can give them a tool to mitigate that at the same time and turn that negative conversation into a positive. Industry buzzword is stickiness. You can increase their stickiness, and so you basically are deepening that relationship, increasing the trust that they have in you. That you're not just going to profit off them, but you're really looking out for their best interests and trying to save them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to backtrack a little bit. You had mentioned, right, when we bring on new partners, new resellers to PayTrace, that's one thing to do. I want to add to that, right? It's not just for brand new partners, but even the existing ones, right? Exactly. Existing merchants, businesses change. So I want to actually pull you guys, James, if you could bring this up. But how often are you guys, doing reviews, doing audits of your existing merchant statements? Right. So let's go ahead and see if we can launch that. Are you doing it every month? Are you staying on top of that? Are you doing it every couple months, once a year, never? Right? Let us know. Let's take about 10 seconds and see if we can get some responses in there. All right. Awesome. Can I vote? I don't know if I can vote. All right, let's go ahead, Jimmy, shut that down. Cool. Right, I think a really good best practice is to constantly audit that, right? And audit isn't necessarily a negative word, but you want to see what they're qualifying at. Are they mid and high qual, or are they getting those best qualifications, right? And that's something that PayTrace can be really good with.
Yeah, I like the term audit. I saw you did that with tax season and audit.
Yeah, yeah. We'll play on words, right? Make audit positive. Positive.
Yeah. Yeah, audit's not a bad word. A lot of the context that we typically think of the word audit is negative, but we're just talking about a review. Just review your portfolio. It's never a bad thing to just take a look. I mean, you're always signing new merchants, and so they're all in a different stage of their life cycle with you as a provider, and so it's good to regularly kind of get in the habit of just reviewing where they are and how polling their satisfaction and reviewing, auditing that relationship.
Right. And it sounds like our audience, from the response that we get, about half of you do it every 3 to 6 months or so, which I think that's probably a pretty good cadence from what we see. Right. And James, actually, if you wouldn't mind pulling up that interchange page, I love showing this. You guys put together a really cool thing. But guys, if you haven't referenced this PayTrace interchange page yet, we've got some really cool data on here. James is putting it on the screen right now. But we'll actually show you Visa and MasterCard's rates about halfway down the page if you want to scroll down there. So as you're looking at those statements, and you can see the different business cards that are coming in, some of the B2B, the business to government cards, right? Look for those terms, and then look at the qualifications that they're getting. Are they coming in at standard, right? If they are, that's probably not a good thing, right? PayTrace can help fix that, right? Standard IRF, data rate 1, those are kind of the common qualifications that we see where essentially merchants are more or less downgraded.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Can I just make one point real quick that I just thought of?
Please do.
Because when we talk about conversions, one, from my sales background, I kind of can hear in the back of my mind, objections. One thing that's difficult, or can be difficult, is that if you sign a merchant and solution them with something, sometimes it can be tough to go back and say, this might be a better tool for you. I understand that, and so maybe you don't do that 1 month after signing them with a certain solution. You don't go back and redo it, but give it 6 months or a year, and give it some time to where it would be strategic to go back and revisit that merchant and present PayTrace as a new solution. Maybe this isn't something that you had available at the time that now is available, and it now makes sense to offer to them. And so there's you all are salespeople too. I mean, there's ways to overcome those objections, but just to acknowledge it, I understand there can be difficulty in that returning to that conversation with the merchant, but it's not something that's insurmountable, and the benefits of doing that can be great for both you and the merchant.
Right, absolutely. So to dive in a little bit more into this conversation talk, because we've seen a few of our partners have some really great success with that. Right, they've transitioned over, a few dozen. Some of our larger ones have migrated a few hundred merchants to PayTrace. Mm-hmm. Right, and to some, that process can be kind of intimidating, right? Because that's a lot of gears that might be turning to do that. If somebody out there, one of our partners watching, maybe has a handful of merchants, 5 merchants or 10 merchants that might be a good fit for PayTrace, how would you recommend they start that process?
Reach out to us, probably step 1. You don't have to know really the process before you get into it. Just reach out to us. We can walk you through it, because it is a little bit different with each situation. And so there's a few technological questions that we just want to map it out. But it's not hard. It's not a tough process, but you don't have to know it before you start it. So just reach out and start the conversation. I'd be happy to. Any of our account executives would be happy to talk to any of our partners who fit that category, who want to have that discussion. It's pretty simple. Let us help you assess it and put a plan together for how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, like we said, we want to keep merchants happy, right? That's our brand, essentially, is we're the gateway to happy. So we don't want this to be a huge barrier of entry, right? We understand that there's a lot of work that might go into it with customer vaults or upfront setup costs and things like that. that's something that we're flexible on, I'd say, right? We want to make it a win-win-win for us, for our partners, for the merchants especially, right? We don't want to make this a huge headache. Right?
Yeah, the idea is that this should be a little bit simpler than a new sale, right? I mean, if it's a quick hit that we can both benefit and the merchant can benefit from by bringing a group of merchants at one time, we want to make that easy. So, let us know. If you have a specific account executive, reach out to us individually, or if you don't know who that is, you can just email sales@paytrace.com and we'll get to the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. Just reach out to us. So I think that's kind of a good stopping point on the conversion conversation. Guys, if you do have any questions about that as we're going through, please let us know. One participant did mention that April is the month for interchange updates for Visa, MasterCard for the card brands. That page that we did bring up, we will have updated numbers on there soon, right? So keep that in mind, right? I want to bring up another thing that's kind of cool that's coming up in a couple months. We're going to be at ETA Transact.
That's right.
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. So that'll be fun. So you'll be there.
I'll be there.
Right? With sunscreen.
And a hat and a trench coat, probably.
That's right. I'll be there. Our marketing team will be there. Did I say months? A couple months away?
Oh, it's
a couple weeks.
2 weeks.
That's my bad. So we'll be there in a couple weeks, guys. I might be there in a couple months. Who knows? But that's coming up. All right, big industry thing. So I actually have another poll. I want to know who's going to be there. James, would you mind launching that here really quick? And who's going to be there? Who's going to be at ETA Transact? Raise your hand. Yes, no, undecided. Is PayTrace being there going to sway your decision to go? Right? Of course it is. Of course it is. Right? Who doesn't want to hang out with us?
We're delightful.
So I will be probably hanging out at the Lazy River. Michael's going to actually be working pretty hard.
Someone's got to.
But if you guys do want to meet up with us and chit-chat with us in person, right, we're going to be there.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'd love to dinner, happy hour, lunch, coffee, meet on the trade show floor. Whatever's convenient for you, we're available. We want to be available to our partners, meet with as many of you as we possibly can. And if you have people you'd like to meet with us, I mean, that's our time where we can meet face to face, which is a much more valuable, I think, meeting, as you all know, than just on phone. So let's take advantage of being together and meet face to face with as many of you as we can.
Yeah, and it's not just gonna be the two of us. We're gonna have a good showing from our biz dev. Our marketing team will be there. Marcy, Eric Jenks, some of the folks that you've seen on previous Power 30s. Kevin, if you guys want to learn a little bit more about ISVs and have that conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So let us know. We want to keep continuing these conversations. We want to get your feedback on what you think about PayTrace and what you're seeing in the industry. Right. This is a great opportunity to interact with everybody. Marcy's on the call right now. She says, "Be there or be square." Hi, Marcy. Let's go ahead and see if we have any questions. Here's just a good kind of best practice into using PayTrace. So Jan has a question here. Hey, Jan. And she's asking, what if a merchant keys in and has commercial cards, right? So they're keying them in, but they're too busy to put in AVS info. What is your response to that? Or I can tackle it if you want.
My agent did not prepare me for this. So they're keying in. I mean, I don't mean to sound direct or heartless, but try to make time. I mean, that's the best answer, is that don't overlook it. I mean, it's just, they're going to want to do that. And so if there's a way they can streamline their process to get used to just that being part of the transaction and being efficient at it,
right?
That's the A answer. But do you have a B answer that might be?
I mean, AVS is I think one of the most important fields you can have on a transaction, because one, it affects interchange, right, guys? We're talking a lot about interchange optimization. AVS is the most basic thing that you can add to a transaction to help qualify it, right? But there's also the security aspect, right? Having the address and zip code and having a match, right? Having the correct address and zip code is going to help benefit against any chargeback mitigation, right? So there's pricing, there's security. So what I would recommend, Jan, for your merchant, you know, get a little bit white glove treatment, do a little bit of education. I'd say they're probably not too busy. It should take about 10 to 15 seconds, but make that field required, right? Go into their PayTrace account, make it required. That's something that we see pretty consistently amongst a lot of our merchants.
Yeah, I would recommend too, if you can attach for them a dollar amount to either entering or not entering that AVS information, suddenly they can see the value of doing it, and they might be a little bit more motivated to try to make that part of the process.
Yeah. And if they are recurring customers, like it looks like Jan added a little bit of information on there, right? Just store that AVS information into the database, or at least put something in those fields, right? For interchange qualification, it doesn't have to be a complete match. We recommend that it is, but as long as there's the attempt, should be good. So best practice.
Thanks for the question, Dan.
Yeah, and just for some extra flavor to that, for level 2 and level 3 processing, you do need AVS. That is a required field for level 2 and level 3. Again, it doesn't have to necessarily match. It needs to be attempted, right? So consistently plug that in if you don't want to downgrade. Oh boy, questions came flooding in. Let's see. Anthony has a question, more ISV related. So Anthony's asking, is there a better way to integrate in with QuickBooks other than using a third party? I believe by third party, we're referencing like Verosa and Bill and Pay.
A better way?
I would say,
Anthony, let's talk about it, because off the top of my head, I don't know of a different way, but.
Anthony, I'd be interested in learning a little bit more about kind of the background on that question. We do very highly recommend Verosa and Bill and Pay as partnered solutions to integrate with that. Right, we don't have a direct integration with QuickBooks. Intuit has their own solution that they keep pretty close as far as a payments gateway. But let's talk through that and see what we can work out. But yeah, Verosa, Bill and Pay, great solutions for pretty much all versions of QuickBooks that need it. I think that's probably the most common integration that we work with.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, what else do we have? Melina is asking, when is the Las Vegas Expo? So if you guys are interested, I'll do a plug for ETA on here. Check out ETA Transact. It's on their website. I think James has it keyed up. If you want to share your screen on there, why not?
It's actually 2 weeks from today.
Is it?
Yeah, Tuesday the 29th to, I want to say the 2nd, or it's week of, it's Tuesday or Monday through Friday of that.
Tuesday the 30th to May 2nd. Yeah. Yep. So PayTrace will be there. We won't be exhibiting. We'll be on the floor just kind of walking around mingling, and we want to learn about what everybody wants in the industry. So come check it out. It's a very cool conference. There's lots of good stuff there. So we're happy to be involved with that.
For those of you that are going and know that you'd like to meet, let's try to plan that ahead of time. It'd be great to try to fill up our calendar a little bit before we get there. I know it's easy sometimes just to be spontaneous and kind of see what it feels like when we're all there. But if we could plan a little bit ahead, that'd be awesome, and just make sure that we do it instead of missing a possible opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we are right about time. There were a couple questions on here. We'll follow up. We've got your questions logged in here. Brad, Anthony, John, I see those in there. We'll go ahead and shut this down. Guys, again, if you do have any more questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Michael, sales@paytrace.com. We'd love to have some of those conversations with you. Mr. Michael Cannon.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks for joining the show. Hopefully we'll see you out here again. Guys, hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and take care.